Hello, my name is B Hawk, and this is my video out. Get your life. Catch the highlight from every angle. My story. Where do I begin? My story starts in the Bronx, New York. Kind of in the Marble Hill Projects. That's where I pretty much grew up. Let me think. My favorite part about being me. I'm going to say my confidence. Work. I'm going to say my confidence. It takes a lot for people to slay like this. I'm sorry. Come on. From the Bronx, let's be real. The Bronx is not the worst place in the world to be, but it's not the safest at times. So I would definitely say my confidence, because it inspires others to also be who they are and represent for themselves. At a young age, I knew something was up. Something was a tad bit different than the rest of my fellow classmates. And I didn't quite know what it was. And, a lot of people would say certain things. And, I started to, maneuver and play with, my sister's Barbie dolls and things of that nature. And I also played with kind of like my X-Men figurines. So something was that where it was just like, I was so open to everything around me. And, a lot of my family members and, people that would come over to the house would just question it all the time. They would just be like, why are they playing with dolls and, army figurines and things of that nature, and kind of getting on me about it and calling me gay and, excuse my French, fag and things of that nature. And I knew just by the way they were saying it in a negative tone that it wasn't right. So for, a long period of time growing up, I was like, well, I'm not gay. I'm not queer. I'm not fag. That's not a good thing. I can't be that person. I think, years later, when I went to LaGuardia High School for the performing arts, and I saw the amount of diversity. I saw how happy people were with being themselves. And I still didn't have a label to it for myself. I still didn't know exactly who I was. But people started to ask questions. B, are you gay? Are you bi? And I was just like, well, from what I know, gay is not the thing to be. But at this time, I'm experimenting with different TV shows and movies and things of that nature. So I'm like, ooh, what is this queer as folk show? What's that about? Okay. And I was relating to it. Obviously not a white male, but I related to it in the sense where, it was a lot of same-sex partnership going on. There was a lot of, conversation about, being queer, being gay, a lot of LGBTQ issues. And I was like, I can relate to these stories in a way. And I wanted to know more. So, of course, as a teenager, I'm just digging through things. And the internet was starting to build up. So I'm not that old. I started off as bisexual. That was cute for a moment. And then I started having, relationships with females. I had a couple girlfriends, I'm cute or whatever. And, but I think, I'm trying to think when I had my first boyfriend. I think it was probably maybe sophomore year in high school. I had my first male-on-male experience. And didn't go that great. He lived in Buffalo, New York. I lived in the Bronx. You do the mileage on that. He would come down and see me. And, he was a great person, great individual. But my first time with him sexually was just a mess. We had no idea what we were doing. I had no idea what this top-bottom thing was about. I just heard about it on Queer as Folk, and I was like, well, I guess I'm this, I guess I'm that, so let's just try everything. It was a mess. But eventually I got it together. So throughout high school, it was definitely a journey because you wanted to have relationships with different people of the same sex as you without kind of being outed in a way. And it wasn't, even though it was a performing arts school, a lot of you guys know LaGuardia is like the fame school. Everyone's cheerful and happy, and dancing on tables and stuff. And, but it still wasn't something that a lot of people were open and honest about. It was still a struggle for a lot of people, and including myself. So eventually, became more comfortable with myself, and I would, date different guys and things of that nature. But I still never came out. It was more so like, if you knew, you knew. If you didn't, it is what it is. And I've always just had that flow with me, and even with my family, I never came out of the closet. That was never my experience, and I think that comes from my mother just looking at me and knowing her child. This is my child, and this is who they are, and you don't have to come out to me. Like, I would have certain moments where I was like, "Mom, I'm to work." It was like my first day on a job at a movie theater in high school, and I was like, "Mom, they're picking on me. They're calling me names," and she was just like, "Listen, don't pay them no mind. People are gonna call you names probably all throughout your life, but you just ignore them." You know what I'm saying? You ignore it. Nowadays, I don't really ignore much. But at that time, she's like, just ignore it, let it be. If you don't feel comfortable in that work environment, then leave. We'll find you another job. And it was just a blessing to kind of have that in my life. After high school, that's when things got a little cray-cray. I was just being a mess. I was just like, whoa, I'm gay, I'm queer, I'm living my life, I'm wearing short shorts and tank tops. And I think around this time, Noah's Ark was on, like Logo was the thing to watch. And I was like, whoa, this is who I am. I've actually found a show that I can relate to, with people of color on it. Like, I was like, whoa, I'm going to be like Noah and wear like boas and cowboy boots and things that really don't go together. In the daytime. And it was an awesome experience. It was great. Shout outs to, Patrick Ian Polk for creating that amazing show, because honestly, if it wasn't for that show, all I knew was like Lenny Kravitz is not, I don't think he's queer, but he was a representation for me as a black feminine male that was eccentric, and I had RuPaul. So those are like my only two people I could relate to, and then he had Noah's Ark, and I was like, oh, so there's different types of people of color with different stories and experiences and things of that nature out there. So after that, after high school, I went to FIT for fashion design, and that was fun. I experimented a lot with different partners and things of that nature. And I also experimented with a lot of, I would say, drugs, which wasn't now that I look back, it wasn't the smartest idea. But, I mean, you do it, you learn from those mistakes, or whatever you want to call them. I call them mistakes because it just wasn't the most smartest thing to do at that time. But I learned from them, and I had a lot of really great supportive people around me. I think throughout my life, I'm so blessed to have friends that said, B, don't do that. Like, stop, honey. Like, the smoking, the drinking, you're doing a little too much. And sleeping around with people, that was a lot. And I was blessed at that time to have people like that around me, because it made me slow things down. Like, take a chill pill. Get to know people without, sleeping with them on the first date. Like, give it at least a week or two. Like, know their last name, child, slow it down. After that, I went into, really learning what my career drive was, and I really got into fashion design and styling and things of that nature. And it really boosted my self-confidence in a way, and I became busy with doing other things besides sitting around and smoking all the time and meeting people on the internet. It really drove me into a new world where I can be myself, I can be booked and busy, I can be blessed, and be open and be myself and be comfortable. Working in the fashion world and retail definitely helped me a lot because I can go to work, be this way, have fun, be around people that are inspiring, and help me to be a better person. So, with all that, came me getting more involved in TV and acting and doing music, and it just really helped me become a better person as far as just as an individual, just knowing who I was, where I was going in my life. I saw myself growing and becoming just more than a person that was working in the fashion world. I was becoming more of a public figure. People started to watch me and watch my every move and my every step, and I was like, oh, something's happening here. Something, like, I'm changing people's lives and I'm not even knowing it at this point. And I just started being more careful about the things I did and the choices that I made. And I was learning more about myself also as a queer person. And it was the first time I started thinking, like, I think there's more to this and I don't know what it is. And fast forward to what's going on now. About 2 years ago, maybe, I heard of, gender non-conforming, because for a long time before that, I was more just so like an androgynous person. And I was cool with that. That was okay. I was definitely cool with that. I was cool with, like, my visual feminine and masculine energy and things of that nature. But I knew there was something deeper inside that I couldn't quite put a label to. And I'm not a huge fan of titles and labels, but sometimes we gotta maneuver with them. Things change. So 2 years ago, I learned, there's, gender non-conforming and non-binary, and I was like, what are those things? Like, I had no idea what's going on here. And people started using pronouns like they, them, and I was like, what is that? Like, grammar, guys, that doesn't make any sense. Fast forward, I got a role or a feature on Pose on FX, and that was an amazing experience. Like, it blew my mind. Like, it was the first time I was on set and I saw people that looked like me in front of the camera and behind the camera. It was the most diverse situation I've ever seen in my life. Like, mind-boggling. When the show aired, I played a very feminine character, very powerful woman or person of a trans experience. But at that time, this was like 1988, 1989, so at that time, trans experiences and things of that nature, everything was more fluid and non-binary. And, but at that time, she would have been called, I guess, a trans woman. Or a drag queen. At that time, not now, things have changed. So I think with that being represented on TV in different forms, a lot of people hit me up and was just like, wow, like, as a gender non-conforming person or as a non-binary person, I kind of saw myself in you. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a little connection here. So I started doing my research and I started asking them, what is your experience as a gender non-conforming person? What is your experience as a non-binary person? Because I didn't understand the difference at that time, and I couldn't understand it from my experience. So I had asked, I had saw something on Instagram from a friend of mine called Eddie Jones, who's fabulous, Eddie Jarrell Jones at that, and they had said something about when you go into the shower, most people either pick hot or cold or something in between. And I think that was the first time it connected to me and was like, oh, I'm that something in between. Like, everyone has a choice in life to kind of figure out, how they want to represent themselves or how they want to be. And I think I was like, oh, okay, there's the connection. Like, I'm starting to appreciate my 50% masculine energy and my 50% feminine energy. And it's okay. And it's, to me, non-binary fit. It made sense. It's fighting against the binary. It's like, this is who I am. I'm fluid, I'm non-binary, and I'm owning it, and I'm proud of it. Being programmed in my head that masculine was it. You can be feminine, but you can't be too feminine. And I think that growing up now, I'm just like, no, you can honestly be exactly who you are. And it's okay. And I'm loving that at this time, people get to see that. The younger generations get to see that. The younger millennials get to see that. The Generation Z, they get to see that. And it's such an amazing experience. And I wish it was around when I was growing up. That would have been great. It would have made more goddamn sense. But it's beautiful to kind of see where the world is going as far as fluidity, as far as the LGBTQ community, when it comes to representation on television and movies and in film. Now I know I have a voice as well. And, before I was just comfortable being in the background. I was comfortable being a stylist. I was comfortable, doing that stuff. But now I think as a public figure and as an entertainer, I have a voice, and I can call myself an activist because I am doing the work. I'm doing as much as I can to not just represent for myself, but for the people within my community, LGBTQ allies that are, our beautiful heterosexual brothers and sisters that are also doing the work. And I constantly use social media as a tool and a source of entertainment, but as a tool, as activism, and to let people know that this is what's going on in the world. And we have to wake up and we have to do the work. We can't sit back and complain anymore. This government right now, with a lot of the cis, heterosexual, white men in power, they don't care about us. And that's not shade, that's just a fact. We have to continue to do the work. We have to fight back. And not just not physically, unless, they attack first, and that's another story. But I think we have to fight back with our words. We have to fight back with the knowledge that we have. And because they're going to continuously try to stop us. This is 2019. Things are changing. Get with the program. We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. We've been here since the beginning of time. We just didn't have the titles and labels and the things that we needed to fundamentally put us where we are, and put a stamp on it. But we are here, and we're not going anywhere. So give it up. Hang it up. Let it go. And we're more powerful than ever before. And I think they're nervous. I think they're scared of it. And be scared. Because we're powerful and we're blessed. And I can't wait for the future to slay.